Hello everyone, this is another Para 3D tutorial and we're going to talk about creating sort of dynamic facade system. As you can see, what I have here can be considered as a facade system that can react to some pad or an attractor or any external controller. They can open up and they can close. Okay, let's see what's happening under hood of this system. We're gonna open Para 3D. Alright, this is what you have. As you can see, I have just few controllers and a Para 3D node and then add on a keyframe maker add-on on top. So to see how this system works, I'm going to create this from scratch. So we can just get rid of all of these. We'll say remove node. Nope, we don't need those. Okay, so let's go back. So I have a NURB surface here. This can be any shape. It defines my facade surface. Then I'm going to panelize it, and I have a simple rectangle. It's actually not a rectangle. Let me draw this again so you understand how this works. So we put that here. Okay, I started with a line with 3 vertices, means with 2 segments and 3 vertices. So just to keep everything organized, I'll just open up the snap dialog box. You right click on this and I choose grid points, and okay, now I can see it snap on the grids. So you just pick 3 points from the grid. 1, 2, 3. That's the line with 3 vertices. Once you've done that, you go to modify. Make sure that this vertex is Bezier vertex, means it has got 2 Bezier handle, and make sure these 2 vertices are Bezier corner, so they also have these handles. As you can see, this little green point, these are the Bezier handles. So you eventually will have 9 control points, because each vertex is going to have 3 control points for each line. Now we need another spline. Go to spline, click on that, and I would just hold the shift key and slide this up and make another clone. So that's, now if you look at here, it says a spline 2, and if you click on this, spline 1. So imagine always the spline 1 is the one in the bottom, and the spline 2 is the one on the top. You need to remember that, because we create a copy of the first spline, so the vertices is going to be the same. So these are Bezier corner and this one is Bezier vertex. We are good, but we just need to make sure that this does not get optimized. Remove that optimize and make sure it's on check. And I go ahead and put a cross section modifier. The cross section, it creates lines between the vertices of 2 splines and gives you quad patches, which are necessary for surface modifier in order to function, and leave the other setting as default. Go ahead and put another surface modifier, which okay, here we go. What surface modifier does is that it creates patches within the quad polygons. So wherever you have like 4 edges is going to create a patch. Set the threshold to 0, so you make sure that it does not omit any of these, and then you can keep that other settings as default. If you increase the steps, you're going to get a smoother patch. It's up to you. I think for me it's 5 should work. We're ready. This is our panel. If you like to add a shell modifier or anything like that, it's your choice. Well, I think I'm fine. I'm gonna switch off the grid points as now. Don't need it anymore. Okay, let's get started with Para3D. We go ahead and create a parametric array. We know that it's going to be a two-dimensional array, so it's just 10 by 10. Let's keep the original object just in case if something went wrong, we can always go back. I'll create. Yes, we do want to modify the vertices, so we have to say yes to this question, and then now we have our Para3D node. It's a parametric array, and you should see these vertices under the master control point. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do with this is to put those panels on the surface. It's a good practice. It's always good to do this first. So we go to that and then we put that on top. So now, as a normal surface paneling, like other tutorials, you go here, click on the master group of properties, and then check all. It's going to select all the control points, and then come here and add a surface controller, and then choose instance. So it's going to create one surface controller for all the control points, and go ahead and pick that surface. The settings should be fine because it says a NURB surface, so I have it in geometry. Well, I'll leave other things for now, and then I go and create the sub-object controller for vector for the UVW offset. So it's gonna extract my sub-object offsets, and for the surface controller. Now next thing is to choose a pattern. I want to use the running bound pattern for this tutorial, and you see the reason why it's like that in a few seconds. So pattern like staggered, as you can see here. When I roll over the objects, they are staggered already. Now let's take a look at this one. Okay, as you know, the upper one, this spline is a spline 2, and this vertex is this vertex vertex 3, and then vertex 1. Vertex 1 of the spline 2 and vertex 3 of the spline 2. So what I want to do is to push these vertices down and create a gap here. So that's where the opening works. So go back to your Para3D node, uncheck. So we're talking about the spline 2. So scroll down until you see spline 2. Here we go. We're talking about vertex 1 and vertex 3. So check those. Vertex 3 of the spline 2. Okay, this is my surface control. I will just rename that as original position. And from this original position, I want to move things up and down along this V direction of the surface. So let's get copy of this. So we're going to push these vertices down. So I call this push down. What you need to do in order to push the vertex down here is to decrease the V offset of the surface controller, which is here. The surface controller offsets are controlled by the sub-object controller. So what we need to do is to take that vector and move it down by a certain magnitude, and then again feed it to this surface controller as a new offset. So to move that vector down, I'm going to need a transform controller. So put that here. So that is a vector, so we choose vector. So now we can feed that sub-object controller to our initial value. So then we move this, we check move, so we're going to move that here in Y direction, because the Y is corresponding with V direction is in the surface controller. So how much you're going to move this, it's up to you. It's you can use a parameter for that. So let's create a parameter. We just use a custom parameter for now. So call that opening size, let's say. Okay, and then we can connect that to Y channel of the move vector. Alright, we need to set the range. I'll just set minus 0.5, 0.5. Remember, this is UV offset, so the UV offset are not measured in actual unit system. They're actually defined within a normalized space. So when you say the range of this parameter is between minus 0.5 to 0.5, you actually mean that this opening cannot go beyond the half of the length of the object. So it always maintain within the object itself. It's not going to go beyond the bounding box of the object. The only thing is the value that I'm going to enter here, I'm going to enter for now 0.2, is going to push that up, but we're trying to push things down. So we need another controller here. We create a math controller and we plug that to A channel, and here I choose A times B and I enter -1 and B. So whatever comes out of the custom parameter or opening size is going to be multiplied by -1. The negative value will go to transform, and that's why this control points will be pushed down. Now instead of the original sub-object, I'm going to just connect that to the surface. Now I want to connect that controller to these 6 control points. There is a shortcut for that. I'm going to show you how it works. You select that container with the control points or properties checked, and you come over here, click on this. Within the controller library, you choose scene for the source, and you look for the controller which you have made before, which is this push down here, and then you drag and drop it over this. Choose instance because you're going to have the same controller for all of these, and then you can ignore the current controller. It's not going to do anything with the current controller. We just disconnect that. So press OK. So you're done. So now this controller has been assigned to these vertices. So go ahead and update the array and see how it works. So we already have openings. So what we need to do is to find this vertex and push that up. So I need to copy this controller and paste it over here. We call it push up. And the difference between this and that is that I don't have to multiply this by -1. I can just directly connect that to the transform controller. So I need a new transform controller. We select and then we click on make it unique. It's going to give me another transform controller, and then I can directly connect that to Y channel. So this is a positive value, so that means my vertices will be pushed up. I'm going to uncheck channels and then go back here. I'll see which vertex. This one is definitely a spline 1. We'll check it again. Yes, it's spline 1, and we want to move the vertex 2, and let's go ahead and find a spline 1 vertex 2. So here we go, spline 1 vertex 2. Check all the control points for vertex 2, and then same thing, you're gonna come here, scene, and then we use push up. We use instance, ignore, and you're done. So that's for this one. Okay, let's update it again. Okay, we're done. So now the paneling works nicely. So to make an animation, you need to animate this parameter. So we go here in the first frame, frame 0, turn on auto key, set that parameter to 0. It can be anything. So we close it, and then we go to the frame 50, and then we open these panels by 0.4, for example, and then we go to last frame 100, and then we change this again back to 0. Okay, so that parameter is now animated. It will change during time. So all you need to do is to create a keyframe maker. This is an add-on. So go under add-on, find keyframe maker. Here's this. Okay, let's put it here, and then connect your Para 3D node to keyframe maker. It will list all the properties that can be animated within that Para 3D node. Basically, whatever has a controller will be listed here. What we need to do is just to animate the things that we pushed up and pushed down. So we leave the original position because this is not going to change. We just select the things that has these two controllers. Okay, so there are like 9 control points. Okay, then you decide on how many keyframe you want. So 10 keyframe. The duration of the animation for now is 0-100. I'll leave it as default. The more number of keyframes will take more time. If you keep changing animation, you better to keep this option checked, so it will delete all the previous key and will create a new keys. We'll go ahead and generate keyframe. It will take few seconds, depend on your machine and how complex is your scene. But once it's done, you're ready to run your animation. Okay, let's see. Push that back and see how this works. Just play. Yep. It opens and it closes. Okay. Let's give you an example of how this works with a different controller. Let's go back here. We want to remove the keyframes, so we just cleaned up the animation. There's no keyframe. Now I'm going to use another controller, like we're going to use a graph, for example, here, and instead of that, so we'll just connect the graph here and here, and we're connecting the opening size to the graph. So what this does is that it takes this number, which is it can be animated again, and then it will map it to this graph, and it returns it depends on the position of the member in the array. It returns different values, so it's just modified the opening size based on the graph. So in the middle is going to return whatever you put here, but here and there is going to return 0. So let's see, in the frame 50, which we previously if we had this 0.4 here, if I update that now, what happens? So you can see that there is there's a little problem here, because these are now, they're not joining well. The reason is that the graph returns a different value for each of these objects. So what we need to do is to make sure that this vertex is using the same value as this vertex does. We can do that fix with the offset controller. So let's go ahead and create an offset controller. We need the sub-object controller. This is where we can find how much we need to shift the indexes in order to get the right value from the graph. So we connect that sub-object to the offset value, and then the original value and then we can connect our graph to the offset value. Before that, we need to just set this output so we can connect the graph control. What this essentially does is that takes the location of the sub-object within the graph instead of the location of the object, so, and then it will close the gap for us. So and now we're ready to connect that to our transform, and let's update that again. So this, you see there is no gap, so it's kind of open in the middle only and closes on both sides. You can still animate that if you go back and run your keyframe maker, generate keys. Okay, so let's see. So as you can see, the animation works now, but the difference is because we added a graph controller, we can see that openings are only happening in the middle of the surface. Okay, I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching.